Welcome to a brief video about church property in Presbyterian Church polity. You'll see that there's an entire chapter on property, and we want to cover some of the reasons for that and the highlights of it briefly. Key points, I think, are to notice that property becomes a significant issue because of the amount of resources. And so it's an enormous trust for individuals, congregations, and the church as a whole to manage these resources. And because of the size of these resources, it becomes important to be clear about how we are going to manage them, deal with them, and who has responsibilities to make what decisions about them. If you read carefully, you'll notice that congregations are responsible for the property in their care, but they do not own the real property outright. This is a matter of some controversy in the church, and often when one talks with individual congregations, they are surprised and dismayed to learn this. They very often have a high sense of ownership because they or their forebears are the ones who have paid for and maintained the property, and they're the ones that have the responsibility for it. And the sessions have a high degree of latitude about what happens on and through the property. So congregations in and of themselves and through their sessions and trustees have a great latitude about what happens with property and a high level of responsibility to care for and maintain the property, but they don't have the entire rights to sell the property without the presbytery being involved. It's a historical difference between the northern and the southern churches, and the southern church had more latitude in terms of property. We're far enough into the merger that emerges fewer and fewer times, but it's if you work in a former PCUS, former Southern Church, you do become aware of that history. And actually there was a provision in the Book of Order that has since expired in terms of people's ability to exercise it, that allows former Southern Presbyterian churches to maintain their control over their property. Property is a flashpoint for controversy, especially in congregational conflict or denominational controversy. So when a congregation is enough at odds for itself that it's thinking about splitting, of course the question is who gets the property. If a congregation is disaffected enough with its denominational identity that it wants to change that, there are enormous questions about what happens with the real property of the congregation. And I would say that property is the main reason why congregations and presbyteries end up in civil litigation. And so it really is important to be clear about what can and needs to happen with property. The Book of Order is clear that all property held by or for a congregation, a presbytery, a synod, the General Assembly, or the Presbyterian Church USA, no matter whether legal title is lodged in a corporation, a trustee or trustees, and whether the property is used in programs of a congregation or a higher council, is held in trust for the use and benefit of the Presbyterian Church USA. I mean, so that's called the trust clause in the Constitution, often referred to with clear implications about who owns and manages the property. On the congregational level, it requires presbytery permission for a congregation to buy or sell real property and to enter into a mortgage, and that is contained here. And you'll see that selling, obviously, a mortgage, and leasing more than 5 years. So the sessions have broad latitude, but not entire latitude in terms of what to do. Lots of energy goes into maintaining and caring for property for the use of the church and for the glory of God. I hope this helps you understand how the Presbyterian Church means to do that.